Hello, everybody! Welcome to another episode of Reacting Reddit, where real humans read, react, and summarize trending topics and stories on Reddit. Today, we're going to be diving into people sharing their deepest personal regret. And I will also randomly interject and share my personal deepest regret. I don't have many, but I do have one, and it involves death. Because, don't be like me. Appreciate something before it dies, okay? Seriously. Learn from us, me and these other people with these deep personal regrets where we lost somebody and treated them like crap. And don't treat people like crap. Treat them better, okay? Let's get into it. First replies by Tipsy Little Tart. My sister was a moron, an absolute moron, but she was also sweet and kind, generous to a fault. I was her best friend, but she was not mine. She did a bunch of stupid shit, and I drifted away from her. I didn't return her calls, and the next thing I knew, it had been 2 years since we had last spoken. Our mother tried to get me to speak with her, but I would roll my eyes and say I didn't need stupid people in my life. My sister was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, and she died 6 months after her diagnosis. The first time I went to see her at the hospital, I thought that she would be mad at me. She was so happy to see me. We picked up like those 2 years never happened, and she never mentioned it or tried to guilt me. None of the stupid shit mattered. What mattered was that she used to sneak me treats when I was in trouble. She taught me how to drive, and while no one infuriated me like she did, when I was 16, she made me laugh so hard that I peed my pants. And I turned my back on her, and now she is dead. I am so sorry, Angelica. I am so sorry. Ooh, this is a long one by Metaland Iron. And their deepest personal regret is not doing more to stop my siblings' deaths. The first was a suicide, and the second was an accident, both within a year of each other. When my sister, who wasn't blood, but we considered ourselves to be, our relationship was rough. We had an extreme connection, but both had undiagnosed mental disorders, and we really fed off of each other in both good and bad ways. I got pregnant at 17 and told her I had to focus on myself. I couldn't be devoting my life to saving her from herself anymore. Her first suicide attempt was when she was in the 6th grade, and I found her and called 911. I can't count how many more attempts there were after that. Her parents didn't give a shit. Mine either didn't care or felt they couldn't do anything. It was down to me to check on her hourly for years. Check her pockets for pills or under her mattress for knives. I threw her a birthday party once, and she snuck off and slit her wrists to all hell with the cake knife. I just regret saying the things I did that made her feel like she couldn't call me that night. In a way, I know that she is in peace. It's cruel to say, but she was a star that burned too bright to live forever. She was my true soulmate. When her mom and I found her dead, I remember maybe an hour later my older brother holding me and saying, "It's over. It's finally over. She's okay now." He died less than a year later. His fiancée dumped him for a guy with more money. Never mind my bro was a genius and about to graduate from engineering school. She left him for a landscaper. He got deeper into drugs and was really stressed out from school. I told him I saw him on a slippery slope and tried to be around him more and cheer him up with my baby, who he adored. But he was a busy guy. On my birthday that year, my parents had a small get-together, and he said that he would come. He never showed up and called me after it started to say that he was late and to wait for him. I got sick of waiting and told him off. That was the last time that I spoke to him. His ex called me 3 days later asking if anyone had heard from him. My dad went to his apartment and found him dead. I regret all of the time not preventing these things from happening, But at the same time, I know it's not always my job. I know people are going to do what they are going to do, and I have to encourage them to be adults and to face their problems. But fuck do I wish I could go back and do something differently. Sorry for this ridiculous wall of emotion. I just found out I'm pregnant with my second child, and I'm an emotional wreck. My siblings loved my son when he was a baby, and I wish they could meet my new baby when it's born. Whew, heavy. Next one's by Bassoon Princess. I stayed in a really mentally abusive relationship because I was convinced it was all my fault and that I didn't deserve any better. 2 years ago, I stood out on a frozen lake for 5 hours in 10 degrees, trying to convince myself not to jump in. The relationship continued for 10 months past that, and I should have escaped sooner and realized how valuable I am. The good news is I have a fantastic significant other now who adores me and treats me well. Tommy Guns 007 says, I let my depression take me to a place that has caused significant damage to the rest of my life. I made a terrible decision and it has drastically affected my future. Stubborn Potato has a grand story here. A couple years back, I was at a birthday party for my then girlfriend's grandmother. The dinner was at the restaurant in Bass Pro Shop, and the gift giving would be done in the comfort, but much smaller space of her grandmother's home. At the dinner, I was sat between my girlfriend and her dad. Now, my relationship with her parents was always a little rocky because I am horrible at first impressions, and I had been fighting an uphill battle trying to gain their respect. And after 18 months, I was finally feeling like I had made a little headway and they were finally warming up to me. Dinner is going well, everyone is smiling and happy. I've been having a very pleasant conversation with her dad about future plans and whatnot, when a thought comes into my head that I need to buy a new belt. And that since we are at Bass Pro Shop, maybe I could pick one up after we finished here. So I turned back to her dad and opened my mouth to speak. Will this take much longer? I think I would like to do some shopping. And it was at that moment I knew I fucked up, because now I had made it sound like the only reason I was there was to do some shopping for myself, and the party was merely an inconvenience. You could just see any and all respect he may have had for me bleed out of his eyes. I attempted to apologize and explain that I had just had the world's most massive brain-to-mouth disconnect. He interrupted me and said, "Yeah, you'll get your chance to shop," and didn't speak to me again for the remainder of the dinner. Over the next couple months, I was invited over by her parents less and less. Family events were never brought up again. The relationship ended not long after that. Sometimes she'll cross my mind at random moments, and I cannot help but think back to that encounter and cringe. Chances are that I didn't get dumped because of that one situation. But I do wonder if things would have been different if I had taken a moment and thought about what I was trying to say. So, the moral of the story, think before you speak. Uninhibited 808 says, my deepest regret is not being a better person. I'm selfish and will only build relationships with people whom I know I can benefit from. I avoid and judge poor people. I act as though I'm above those who earn less than I do, and despise those who are richer than me. I'm alone, and that's my fault. I know I can try and change and become the person everyone is supposed to be, but every day it's a struggle, and I sometimes just want my life to end, but I'm too much of a coward to end it myself. Sweetamacabug04 says, how much I pursued sexual things from a woman is something that I deepestly regret. The more I grow, the more I wish I would have been more selective of who I let myself be that vulnerable with. More two's deepest regret is, I'm not really sure if this is my biggest regret, but it's the only one I can think of at the moment. When I was 5 or 6, I knew this girl. She was pretty cute, lived just down the street from me. Well, might not have lived there. I think her babysitter lived there and she stayed there after school or something. Anyway, we got along great. I remember one time we played all day and then she walked me home. Then I walked her home. And we just kept walking back and forth between our homes together until it got dark and we both got into trouble. Oh, that's adorable. Anyway, she moved away. I always regretted not staying in touch. I know I was only 6 at the time, but I still remember those days fondly. I also regret spending her birthday party playing on her Nintendo Entertainment System. And I want to apologize for that. That's pretty funny. Mefris says, I regret letting the drugs and alcohol control me. I had the best girlfriend a guy could ask for, and I lost it all because of alcohol and drugs. We went home after a heavy night of drinking, and one of her friends had cocaine. So me being blacked out, asked for some to try and help me sober up, and it made everything worse. I blacked out and woke up in the morning sleeping beside my girlfriend. When she woke up, she wouldn't even look me in the eyes and told me we were breaking up. She wouldn't tell me anything and kicked me out. A few hours later, I texting her asking what happened, and she told me that after I did the coke, we went to lay down and I started touching her inappropriately while she was passing out. I only touched her and nothing else, but it was enough for her to call it quits. I never remembered any of it, but I could tell that she was not lying. I was never raised to be like that, and I got physically sick thinking about what I had done. I was supposed to be the guy that she trusted. I was supposed to look after her and care for her, and I betrayed her. I don't even remember a thing about it, and it hurts me so much. Every day I wake up disgusted with myself. Not a day goes by when I don't think of it. I've been sober ever since that night, and I wish I could make things right. I really do. Oh, these stories are so sweet and authentic. RexRoy9 says, I'm almost 60, and I don't have any real regrets. It would have been nice if my mother had lived long enough to see her only grandchild, but such is life. I, along with everyone else, are the sum of all of our memories, decisions, and experiences. So why regret any of them? Even the bad ones, for they brought you to this moment. By all means, learn from them and avoid the daft, painful, stupid ones again, but try not to dwell on what's happened in the past. That's some wise shit. Seriously. I guess that's a good moment to share my regret, because I feel like you should have something. I mean, it's good to have like an experience that you regret and you learn from, and you learned how to live a life that you're not regretting the things you're doing, right? For me, my dad got lung cancer, and he was sick for about 1.5 years, a little bit more than a year, and then he died. And I was 11 or 12 by the time he died, but the whole experience was an intense year or two, right? And at the time, I just read books all the time. Basically, my dad's death made me transition out of books and into video games. But ultimately, I spent so much time in different worlds and still do to this day. And I don't regret that I do that now, but I regret that when my father was dying, I didn't spend more time with him because he was alive, even though he was really sick, even though I was just a kid. I regret that I didn't spend more time with him because there's nothing I can ever do to get that back. And I can play games, you know. I visited the places in games that I was when my dad died. But I can't ever get a conversation with him back. I can't ever get eye contact with him back. And that experience has helped shape me into a person, that thinks about that with all the people I care about. Because if you spend any time in your life taking advantage of the people who you love and hurting them and saying things that doesn't get resolved, if you lash out at people, it's gonna fuck you up when that person dies and the last thing you ever said to them was a complaint. That didn't even happen to me. I don't even remember the last thing I ever said to my dad, because the reality is, yeah, his body died, but his mind was very gone. And I don't know at what point is the person still the same person when they have tumors in their brain. At what point are they a human, and do they lose their humanity? At what point? So, I'm not saying that I think it was good for me to continue being around that reality all the time as a child. I can't say that wasn't traumatic, right? But that doesn't mean that I can't learn from it. And it doesn't mean that I don't regret the earlier part of him being sick, when he was still there, before he was comatose, before he was just a human hooked up to a breathing machine. At that point, there was no point in me spending any more time with him. But before that point, yeah, there's a lot I don't know about my father, because I ran away. Because if I looked at him, I could tell he was sick, and he looked like he was gonna die. And that was really scary. And I was too... Like I understand that you can't expect a child to be able to deal with something like that, but life isn't fair. And if you expect the world to be fair to you, you're always going to be complaining about it. You have this chance. You're here now. And you have to make the best with everything that you have. Please, please learn from people like me and some of these other people. And treat people properly. Don't fuck up people you care about because of dumb shit that doesn't matter. Because if you have to lose them, you're going to regret it. Trust me. Even if right now you don't think it matters, you will regret it, and you will regret the way that you treat other people. And if you can get yourself to a point where you are treating other people in a powerful way that you want to be treated, and you can feel confident that you're continuously being a positive force in other people's lives. Maybe not in the moment, but that's the effect, right? If you can get that to be part of your lifestyle, you can live a life where you don't regret anything. It's totally and absolutely possible. But I think fundamentally, the path to that lifestyle is a little bit easier if you can find something you really fucked up with. And really just take a long, hard look at yourself. Really, look at yourself in a mirror, look yourself in the eye and acknowledge you made a mistake. I made a mistake. I didn't spend time with my father. And it doesn't matter that it wasn't fair for me to be in that position or I was too young. That doesn't matter. What matters is I made a mistake that I can learn from. And that's the mentality you have to take with everything in life. Because if you don't, you're going to find that you don't appreciate the things that you have even when you're able to get them. And that is a sad, sad tragedy. And that's it for now, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao.